Today's discussion that we're doing from Ghazālī's book Bidayat Al-Hidaya is on kibr and ujub. So he classifies this under three things. He classifies it under ujub. He classifies it under kibr. He also classifies this under riya, showing off, and fakhr, seeing yourself better, mufakhara. What is takabbur or conceit? It is a deep-seated disease. It is when the servant looks at himself with the eye of honor and self-glorification, while looking at others with the eye of lowliness and disdain. Kabura in Arabic means to be big, to make something bigger. So you see that you are bigger and others are lower. Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi rahmatullahi alayhi gives the description of this, that you forget who you are. Nisyanun nafs, ayyansa nafsahu, wa yanzilu nafsahu manzilatan asfala min manzilatihi. That the person places themselves at a status that does not actually belong to them. That's not who they actually are. They are much lower status, but they consider themselves higher, which is kind of ironic in the sense that people who have pride, they usually have pride because they have materialistically things that elevate them above others. The arrogant person relies on their intellect. They think they always know better. They think that what they have thought of, what they suggest, what they say, it's always the best. And they have anxiety in their chest and it is restricted. Allah describes this in the Quran, كَأَنَّمَا يَسَّعَدُ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. You know, when you are going on a mountain and you're climbing a mountain, what happens when you start reaching a very high elevation? It's harder to breathe. So as you see, people who are going up, they need to have these air tanks. Why? It's because it's more difficult. You've seen all those superhero movies where the person who's not supposed to fly begins to fly, and they get to a certain altitude, then they struggle to breathe. They struggle to have their lungs work properly. So that feeling of like when you're out of breath, or if you're running really fast and you're out of breath, how do you feel? You're trying to, this in English they say, I'm trying to catch my breath, right? I'm trying to hold on to myself. And the arrogant person is trying to hold on to something that is leaving them very, very quickly. So they feel a sense of restriction inside their heart and their chest. They don't have peace because you can't always be right, and you can't always be followed, and you can't always be accepted, and you can't always be appreciated, and you can't always be respected. So the arrogant person is constantly in a state of thinking and reflecting on those things that where they did not get their due course or what they wanted, so their heart starts to feel more restricted. They remain blind. They made their intellect their wakil, their lawyer, the person who decides for them. They've turned it over to their mind, their aql. So they remain blind. Why? It's because your aql, your vision can only see a certain amount. Your knowledge, and whatever you know of the world, and whatever you studied, whatever experiences you have, it's still limited. It's not everything. So if a person now only is walking with this much vantage point, right? So if you are driving and you're only looking ahead and only relying on your eyes, you have these things, what are they called? Blind spots that are around you. And you need these rear view mirrors, and you need two on the side and one on the top. And then some of you have cars that have little cameras everywhere that show you around the entire car, like you're that bad of a driver that you need to see everything in 4K. Why are these blind spots there? It's because your vision isn't enough. And if you rely solely on just looking straight, you're going to end up in an accident. So you need to rely on things that will expose your blind spots. And a mutakabbir believes they have no blind spot. And they believe that what they can see is everything. But they don't realize that they're only seeing one direction. They're not seeing things that they are missing out. So shaitan and their nafs becomes their guide. Why? Is because they're not allowing any exterior factor to change how they think. So shaitan whispers to them, and because they rely on the intellect listens to shaitan and believes that what shaitan is saying is correct, and they follow their nafs, they follow their desires. This takabbur becomes a veil from good character. It stops you from being the best version of yourself. And good character, good akhlaq, is one of the easiest way to enter Jannah. So if it veils you from good character, it will ultimately veil you from Jannah as well. So takabbur, the cost of it is, one is that the sin aspect of it. The second is that it stops you from being the best version of yourself. It actually pushes you to being the darkest and the worst version of yourself. And that is why we see people that to hold on to power and to hold on to seat, they sacrifice everything and everyone. Even if it means the harms of other people, harm of the economy, harm of the country's reputation, they still hold on to it. How many rulers did not surrender despite war being brought to their brink? Why? Because human life doesn't mean anything to me. If it means that I can preserve my seat, I will sacrifice as many people. Am I the best person for this job? You're not the best person. But that takabbur makes them think entitled. No, I deserve to be here. That is why having Muslim rulers or Muslim leaders in politics in these places isn't sufficient, isn't enough. We need to have Islam, because a Muslim and Islam are separate. There's no shortage of Muslim rulers in the Middle East or in Pakistan and all of these places. But there's also corruption that is rampant. Historically, many of the Muslim rulers were very corrupt. They robbed the Baytul Mal, they used it for themselves. Why? Again, this pride, it veils them from their obligation and their responsibility. So they are blind to the betterment of everyone else around them. And they feel that how everything must benefit me at the end of the day. And if it doesn't benefit me, then it's not important to me. And I'm against that thing. And it doesn't matter how many people or how many things are sacrificed on the way, as long as I am elevated. May Allah protect us. Pride is caused by four things. Number one, Arjab. Arjab comes from the Arabic word. Does anyone know what word it comes from in the Arabic language? Ta'ajjub, right? Well, ta'ajjub is an extension of Arjab. What does ta'ajjub mean? You guys all said the word, but nobody knows what ta'ajjub means. What does it mean? Well, ta'ajjub literally means to be astonished about something. So there are two types of sentences in the Arabic language, since you're studying Arabic. There is the khabariya sentences. The sentences you can say someone is true or false. And then there are insha'iyya sentences. Sentences you cannot say someone is true or false. That is why transactions and marriage are classified as insha'iyya despite them being khabariya. What do I mean? Let me break that down. So khabariya, what does khabariya mean? What kind of sentences are khabariya?
Yes,
You can say true or false. And insha'iyya are? You can't say it's true or false, right? There are 10 types of sentences like this. Amar, nahi, istifham, tamanni, taraji, uqud, ta'ajjub, arad. So for example, if I ask you a question that, how are you doing? Can you tell me I'm lying or saying the truth? No, sentence doesn't have that in it. What if I tell you that, wow, that's a great pair of shoes you have? Can you say a person is lying to this statement? How can you say he's lying? How can you say someone's astonishment? If someone is expressing astonishment, how can you say they're lying? But how is that a lie? If I say, wow, what amazing shoes you have.
It's opinionated.
Huh?
It's based on opinion.
But the act of amazement, how can you say that is a lie or false? Truth or false? The act of amazement. Astonishment, it's a feeling. You cannot, yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Maybe that I'm introducing too much right now. What if someone says,
Fita.
I just feel like I was born in the wrong gender? Can you see their lying? Is that like an astonishment?
Well, they're not astonished about it. They're confused about it. Those are two different, confusion, you can say someone is correct or wrong in their confusion. But in astonishment, you cannot. Astonishment is ta'ajjub, like surprise, right? You cannot, it's not a truth or false type of statement. It's not giving you information. What amazing shoes are, there's not giving you any type of knowledge to it. Following? Okay. I tell you, stand up. Can you tell me I'm speaking the truth or lying? No, right? But when someone is getting married or they're doing a financial transaction, what do they have to say? What are the statements they have to say? I have? I want to marry you, right? Proposal. And the second person says? I've accepted. Technically, can you say that that person was lying? Can the person technically say, I really didn't accept you, I lied when I said that? Technically, yes, right? Or if I'm selling you something and I tell you I'm selling this for $5, you give me $5 and I tell you, well, I was lying. So Sharia makes these two statements insha'iyya despite them actually being khabariyya. It makes them statements like, then this is called al-arad, that proposal of something, or uqud, transactions. It classifies them as insha despite them being khabariyya. Anyway, that tangent happened because of the word ujub and ta'ajjub. So ta'ajjub is admiration and amazement. The one who has ujub is amazed by themselves. They think they are the greatest thing. Always taking selfies, always stopping by the mirror, always looking at themselves, fixing themselves, line up, dressing a certain way, so that, no, I look great. And they go out hoping that someone will remark. And if no one comments on how good they looked or how good they did, then automatically they feel hurt, they feel let down, they feel that no one said anything. But you see, I went out to eat dinner and all the girls were there, or all the guys were there, hopefully not both of them, and she didn't say anything about my clothes. They didn't compliment anything, they didn't say anything about me. So that's fishing for that compliment, that wanting, the desire to hear. There's a difference between feedback and there's a difference between fishing for a compliment. A feedback is a person hears it so that they're either going in the right direction or knows if they're doing something wrong. But if the purpose of hearing that feedback is so that they can hear how great they were or how good they were, then that is urgent. The second is hiqad. Hiqad is hatred for others. You hate other people. You see them, why is that person excelling? Why does that person have something positive in their life? Why did they get better grades, better job, better proposal, better family, bigger house, nicer car? Why better than me? So you begin to hate other people. And that makes you feel, why does this person have it? And that's because the pride is stemming this. In the first one as well, ujub, admiration, you think you are greater. In the second one, hiqad, you hate other people. You are, and this is not like you hate them because of they did something or whatever. No, it's because like you can't stand the fact that they're getting attention. You don't like that point. That why did that person, why are they so big on social media? Why did their post get this way or that? Or why did they have this following and I don't have this? This is hiqad, which leads into hasad, jealousy. And you begin to desire or hope that someone does not have the blessings that they have. So you want to see someone in a devastated state. Why? Because that's what they deserve. You are not the crafter of stories. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot decide that for somebody else. And last, riya, showing off. You want people, you want to be seen in a certain way. So you go to different places, you react a certain way, you want a position, you want attention to be dawned upon you, you want recognition, you want appreciation. This is all part of riya. And one of the powerful things about Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in was the fact that they were very humble. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We're doing this for Allah's sake. We don't want anything in return. We don't even want to thank you. And that's the epitome of humility, that you desire nothing in return. You hope that, you actually hope you don't get anything in return. Because you want liwajhillah, that I only want my reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing is that a person says, if someone does something good back to me, if someone thanks me, you get happy. The second is you're actually scared and you actually don't want people to thank you or do anything back for you, lest that it reduces your reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the elite qalb. The generic qalb, so the worst qalb is the one that is constantly looking for it. The better qalb is the one that says, I'm not doing it for this. And the elite heart, the elite qalb, is the one that is scared, that gets uncomfortable even hearing it, because no, I did it for Allah's sake. You're taking away from my reward. I don't want anything in return from this. I want the anonymity, and I want to remain anonymous, and I don't want any level of attention for this thing. I want to do it for Allah's sake. What are the signs of takabbur? It manifests on the tongue. I this, I that. I did this thing. I deserve that. I'm this person. Me'esa wasa double pesa. Right? You are constantly focused on the I, the nafs, and that I that stems from there. That you want everything for yourself, and you want to be included in every conversation. You want to be there in every gathering. You want to be accepted by all. You want attention drawn to you. All of these things. You walk in and you just want everyone to be like, oh, this person is here. That is there. So this I this and I that. Iblis, what did he say? Ana khayran minhu. I'm better than him. خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. You created me from fire and you created him from clay. We're different. You know, people do that a lot with their like lineages. You know, we're Pakistanis. They're Indians. We're Bengali. We're from Sylhet. Those are Dhaka people. No, those are not real Bengali. This is not that. And then this Punjabi to this. And then it happens amongst the Arabs, it happens amongst the Desis. You can't even be from the same area. You have to be from the same town. And you can't even be from the same town. You gotta be on the same street. Can't even be on the same street. You gotta be from the same house. Can't even be from the same house. It has to be you. And that's it. So this fawqiyat that you feel above other people, and that's Iblis's arrow. He wants you to feel like you're great. And that is why 17 times a day we say Allahu Akbar. Multiple times more than that actually. But we say it numerous times a day to remove that from our hearts. Believing oneself to be above others, seeking to have precedence, to take pride of place at gatherings. You want people to say, oh, this person, they did this for the community. This person, oh, they're part of this organization. They're this. Oh, this person, they're the smartest in their class. Oh, this person is very pious. Or, they do so much work. And a lot of us in Dallas, to be very honest with you, the test comes where it's our volunteering that's put at stake. Right? It's our volunteering that's put at stake. It's the actions we do selflessly that end up become selfish. Many times the actions begin selfless, and then we get devoured in the selfishness of it. And it happens in relationships and amongst people as well. That you feel that I have to be treated a certain way first. I'm only going to reciprocate if I'm treated this way. If they reach out to me, then only I'm going to reach out to them. If they treat me well, or if they give me something, then I'm going to give something well to them. If they are good to my parents, then I'm going to be good to their parents. I deserve this, I am this, or that is the epitome of takabbur. Takabbur is not only with random people. No, it happens a lot in relationships. That, oh, she didn't do this for me. Oh, she didn't look out for me in this way. She didn't get me anything. Oh, he didn't, he came home and he didn't ask about me or this. This is all takabbur, because this is our ujub. This is why wasn't I the center of the attention? And people want, and at times, this feeds in so much that a person wants to be given preference over the deen itself. and then you are fighting with Allah. How are some manifestations of this? The sister, how many stories do we have? Sister wants to wear hijab. Husband says, no, you will not wear hijab. What is he saying? You listen to me above Allah. That is the stark standing up of takabbur. And the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق, that there is no obedience to the creation and the disobedience of the Creator. No way. Parents, happens with them a lot. But in relationships, it manifests a lot. That the deen is seen secondary. My time. Well, this person has to also do khidmat of their parents. This person has to also have a job, and this person has to also, look after themselves, or they're studying, or they're doing something. But no, me, I'm always the center. This is takabbur. And some people, that's a rooted problem that needs to come out, is because then it sours the people around you. What are signs of it? When they're advised, they're repulsed by the advice. They don't listen. I know better. One of the things that you should always do is listen and take in advice. If someone gives you advice, listen to it. Acting on it is a secondary thing. But listen as if you plan on acting on it. Whether you end up acting or not, that's secondary. We don't have, and that's why shura and having mashwara, the word mashwara comes from the Arabic shura. There's a whole Quran, Surah Shura, the surah of consultation. The Prophet ﷺ is the most intelligent human being, but he is commanded by Allah. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. O Muhammad Arabi ﷺ, be gentle. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. This is the rahmat of Allah, gentleness. The Prophet ﷺ says, no one has gentleness, but it is a rahmat of Allah. And no one has rigidness, but it is a despicable quality. May Allah protect us from that. Nabi ﷺ is told, shawirhum fil amr, consult. But how many of us have people that we take advice from? How many of us are people, no, you're not a very private person. How do you know your privateness? Everyone needs mashwara. When the Prophet of Allah is commanded, فَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. After you've gotten the advice, then turn to Allah and do tawakkul on Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. Indeed, Allah loves those who leave the affairs to Him. But shura, take consultation, take advice. Whether it's with your parents, whether it's with your teachers, always take advice and consultation. If the greatest mind to ever exist had to do it, you and I are nothing. This is a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there is barakah in the shura. There is barakah in the mashwara. How many times do we go and ask someone and get advice, and that advice was so good for us, so beneficial for us? And sometimes you know the answer, but you have to hear another word say it. You have to keep yourself in check. And you know what happens a lot with this rejection of advice is not just like rejecting when someone advises you, but rejection to seek advice. You're struggling with a sin. No, I don't want people. I don't want to tell someone because then they'll see me differently. That's the takabbur. You are willing to have Allah see you worse than a human being, see you differently so that you can become a better person. You're struggling with a certain sin, you're involved in a certain sin, you're going through something, but no, I'm just very private, I don't want anybody to know, I'm low key. You know you need the advice. You know you need to be kept in check. But you refuse to do so. This is takabbur. This is one of the biggest signs that manifest of a person, that they don't want to hear khair, they don't want to hear good. What was Abu Jahl called Abu Jahl? His name was Abu al-Hikam, the man of wisdom. People came to him for advice. He was a very intelligent man. But he felt it above him, he felt it below him to go and seek from the Prophet ﷺ, to learn from the Prophet ﷺ. Who is this boy? Who is this person? Warning others does it aggressively. They're unable to gently correct people. Now, At times you need to have a stricter approach, and at times you need to have a gentle approach. But you need to balance both of them. Sayyidina Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu largely had an aggressive approach in correcting others, but he didn't see the people that he was correcting beneath them or less than them, or that he is better than them. And he was always, regardless of the scenario, willing and ready to hear criticism. We know the story of the person in Medina Munawwara. Umar radiallahu anhu had a habit. He would patrol at nighttime, and he would walk around the city of Medina Munawwara, and he would check up and make sure that everything is going okay. And he was walking, and there was somebody, it's prohibited by the Prophet ﷺ to look into someone's house. That is why the etiquettes are, when you knock on someone's home, you take a few steps back so that your eyes don't even fall. Now we have like glass doors. You look down, you move to the side. You stand on the right side. Stay a few steps away, 5-10 steps away, so that your eyes don't fall inside. And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, Allah says in the Quran, وَلَا تَجَسَّسُوا, don't look for people's faults. So he's walking in Medina, and there's a man drunk and singing. And Umar radiallahu anhu looks up into his house and says, أَتُغَنِّي وَتَشْرَبُ الْخَمَرَ فِي مَدِينَةِ رَسُولِ صلى الله عليه وسلم? How dare you drink and sing in the city of the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Man was drunk. He didn't really know who he was talking to. He just turns around and he says, أَتُجَسِّسْ فِي مَدِينَةِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم? How dare you look for faults in the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He just stopped. Though this man's sin is worse, because right now, I need to check myself first. I get it, my responsibility is to fix other people, but I can't lose me while I'm fixing others. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Save yourself and then your family. When you're on a plane, we've all have flown a plane before. MashaAllah, everybody over here. There is like the Surah Fatiha of airplanes as well. Huh? Yeah, if the cabin pressure falls down, make sure it's secure. A mask will be dispatched from above you. Make sure you help yourself before you help your others. And then let me show you a video. Show you a little kid, the cutest kid, right? And apparently the cabin pressure is down and the plane is shaking, but in the video the kid looks like he's happy in Disneyland. And it shows the guy really calmly putting the mask on his head and then assisting the other little kid. In a real life scenario, they're probably freaking out inside there. But what? Qu anfusakum, save yourself, because if you can't save yourself, you won't be able to save anybody else. And especially for us, those who are responsible to teach, it very quickly we forget this. To keep ourselves in check, to keep our nafs in check, to keep our approach in check. And that's why that muhasabah and reflection is very, very important. I know scholars who are consistently connected to their teachers and their scholars, and they go and they visit them. Why? So that their tarbiyah can get done. They can be humbled. That the names and the titles that they have can be ignored, and they are treated once again like they were nobody. It's very easy to get caught up into this. It's especially once the respect comes, it's very easy to forget who you really are. I quote the poem often. बहुत मशहूर होता जा रहा हूँ, खुद से दूर होता जा रहा हूँ. बहुत मशहूर होता जा रहा हूँ, खुद से दूर होता जा रहा हूँ. सुना है कि अब कोई ठोकर लगेगी, बहुत मगरूर होता जा रहा हूँ. Seeing yourself better than Allah's creation. We all are makhluk. We're all nothing. How can nothing see someone as less? We're nothing. What do we really have? A short life? Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to say, كَيْفَ يَتَجَبَّرْ وَكَيْفَ يَتَكَبَّرْ. I'm shocked at how man and woman, I know it says he, but this is for she as well. It's a gender neutral class. How can a person hold takabbur and pride when your beginning was هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا إِنَّا هَدَيْنَاهُ السَّبِيلَ إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. Surah Dahr, every Jummah is recited. Hal ata, indeed a time came upon you. Who are you? Oh, I have a master's. I'm this person, and this is my username, and everybody knows me, and I'm TikTok famous, and I'm that. Hal ata ala al-insan hinun min ad-dahr. Allah says a time has come upon you. Lam yakun shay'an madhkura. You were insignificant. You weren't even mentioned. You were a nobody. What did we make you from? Inna khalaqna al-insana min nutfatin amshaj. We made you from a drop of sperm. Every person is made from the same drop of sperm. Even if you're made in a petri dish, you're made from the same drop of sperm. But in respectable conversations, people don't talk about this. You don't bring up semen or sperm in a respectable conversation. Obviously, if your conversations are, you already know they're not very respectable. So Allah says dignified people wouldn't mention what your beginning was. Inna ja'alnahu. We made it, and we made a path for them. Imma shakiran wa imma kafura. Either you're going to be grateful for what I've given you, or you're going to be ungrateful. There's 3 levels of kibr. The pride is deeply rooted in the heart. This person sees themselves better than others, but they struggle, so they try to be humble. They know they're smarter, they know they're better looking, they know they're wealthier, and the thought creeps into their mind, but they're always trying to humble themselves. So this person has the tree of pride in their heart, but they've broke down and cut down the branches that's inside. Number 2, this person has the pride in their heart, and they also do actions that express that pride. They want attention and special treatment. I brought that thing back. I want to be the one. I want to be your priority. I want to be this. This is takabbur. If the Prophet ﷺ treated his family with the norms of what today's society, the little Cinderella, Snow White, I don't know, Snow White story is changing, but was displayed, this deen would have never spread. There was sacrifices that had to get made. The wives of the Prophet ﷺ came to him and said, Ya Rasulullah ﷺ, we need more finances, we want more wealth. We see everybody, you're having it wasn't that the Prophet ﷺ continuously lived in poverty. It wasn't that the faqr of Rasulullah ﷺ was idtirari. It wasn't that he was compelled to be poor. It was ikhtiyari. He chose to be poor. There's a very big difference. It's not, you hear those ahadith, he ate once a day, he did this, months went by, nothing was lit in his house. This isn't because it wasn't present. It's because he chose not to indulge. So he's married to 8, 9 women. And they also want nice things. They're mothers. I really don't feel that connection to our deen. How can a person feel connected to their house if they don't know their mother? The person who's the most connected to their house is the one who knows their parents, their mother and their father. And the more you know your mother and father, the closer you are to the house. And the child who's further from the mother and father is the one that wants to leave and go. You won't find a kid who's close to his parents and say, oh, I want to move, I want to leave. The ones who are not close, they're the ones that contemplate these type of things. Illa mashallah. One of my friends, Shoaib Burdock, he's very close to his parents. And there's a reason for it. He reads, you're probably going to hate me for saying this, but he reads a Quran every 10 days. One for himself, one for his mother, one for his father. And his father loves him more than any of his other siblings. I know some of his other siblings are all ulama. One of them was here last weekend, or the weekend before, or maybe both weekends. And he loves him the most. And I know Mawlana Shoaib myself, he had job offers and things. And he left hundreds and thousands of dollars and big positions and opportunities and relationships for one thing and one thing alone, that I will not leave my father's house. Like, that just blows me away. Anyway, so the person who has that proximity to their mother and father, they'll be close to their house. We don't even know our mother's names. How are we going to feel close to our deen? How many of us know of our mother's names? Name a bunch of basketball players? Bad. Name a bunch of fashion accounts and YouTubers? Bad. We could not learn 11 names in a lifetime. How are we really going to feel it? We're orphans of this deen, and we chose to be the orphan. Allāh al-Musta'an. They wanted the dunya. Rasulullah, Allah revealed, Rasulullah got upset with them. So he went and he stayed inside one of the homes for a month, didn't approach his spouses. And the story's long. Umar radiallahu anhu comes and he says, again, these people, they sacrificed everything for Allah and His Messenger. They lived it. You're the father-in-law. Imagine your daughter gets treated, or your daughter wants something, and the husband's not talking to her for a month. Any other father-in-law would raise hell. Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu walks in and says, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do I need to take off the head of my daughter? Just give me the word. He said, no. He said, have you divorced them? He said, no. He said, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. These things will come to our mind, we don't, it's for the deen. Any other father-in-law is not allowed to tell them to divorce their child. That's a different discussion altogether. In-laws should not say those type of things. There's a whole discussion on it, and the hadith of Umar telling his kid to divorce his daughter and all that. Topic for another day. Upset if not given that treatment. And they spend more time sad than they do happy. If you spend most of your time sad and not happy, that means that there is a spiritual crisis going on. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the one who believes and worships and follows, لَنُحْيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبًا. We're going to give them a peaceful life. Not necessarily everything is going well or good. Hayatan tayyiba. If you don't feel that my life is hayatan tayyiba, you're going through a spiritual crisis. Allah says in the Quran, lower your wings for your followers from the believers. لِمَنِ اتَّبَعَكَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَاخْفِضْ جَنَاحَكَ لِمَنِ اتَّبَعَكَ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Surah Shura, verse 215. This could be all aspects of followers. Family, friends, students, people who respect you, co-workers. Pride manifests on their tongue. They say stories of how great they are. You know that one person, the been there, done that? Anything you bring up, been there, done that. And they'll tell you about how, and they're always talking about their experiences and their things and what's going on. They don't care about the person in front of them. They don't ever ask how the person in front of them is doing, what's going on with them. They don't care. And that is a sign of takabbur. Speak about how good they are, how righteous they are, how much they prayed, how much they did this good. Or they speak about how rich they are, how smart they are, how better looking. We don't even have to speak, we just post a picture. That picture that we're posting is many times what's the maqsad of it. To show that, look at how good of a situation I'm in. And I'm trying to attract someone to look at my state for 5 seconds and to respect me for 1 second. Allah musta'an. Seeing others differently. Hate the sin, not the sinner. We love juz'i or dhati for Allah's sake. We love the individual. Not necessarily their actions. But when we hate for Allah's sake, we hate the actions, not necessarily the individual. So I love the alcoholic. I love the one who's this. I love the one, even if they have committed murder. I still love them. I hate the action. Because I don't know how Allah will deal with them and how Allah will deal with me. Remember your faults prior to the faults of other people. My Ustad Mufti Al-Haq used to say, Hazrat Mufti Sahib used to say, दूसरों के आंखों में जो तिनका है नजर आता है, अपने आंख में जो शहतीर है नजर नहीं आती. You see the speck in others' eyes, but not the beam. You see like the little spots on someone's shirt, little spot of like this color or that color on the shirt. You don't realize you're just drenched in filth. You don't notice it. So look inside first before looking outside. We are great lawyers for our sins and judges for other people's, but be great judges for your own sins and lawyers for others. Sometimes you need to highlight deficiencies in others. You have to, like it's, you know, in our line, you know, we have to, right? Sometimes we see some people teaching or something and we're vehemently against that concept or that philosophy, or we think that person is wrong, even when we're disagreeing with them. At no point can we think we are better than them. You can disagree with someone and say, well, this person is wrong and what they're doing is not right. You know, there's not a list, there's not a short list, there's a lot of people that we disagree with. But at no point can we think that we are better than anybody that we disagree with, that I'm a greater person, and that person is just a piece of trash or something. Ghazālī says, and he gives you like 4 examples. He says, if you see a child or someone younger than you that sins, remind yourself that this person has not sinned as much as I have, and I've sinned more. If you see an older person commit a sin, remind yourself that this person has worshipped Allah more than me. 2 Sahaba, they were in battle, and one died a shaheed, a martyr, and the second died like 2 years later. And someone saw them in Jannah. Even though the martyrdom was a greater action, the second one was higher in Jannah. So they asked the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ said, did this person not pray for 2 years more than this person? Did they not fast more than this person? Did they not give charity more than this person? And that's what has elevated them. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ مَنْ طَالَ عُمْرُهُ وَحَسُنَ عَمَلُهُ. That the best people are the ones who have long lives and good lives, and their actions are good too. If you see a scholar sin, remind yourself that this person has been given what I have not been given. Allah gave them ilm, Allah chose them for knowledge. Allah didn't choose me. They reached a rank because ilm, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah says in the Quran that He raises those with ilm, darajat, status. And there's a plethora of ahadith on this. It's going to come up in like a session or 2 sessions. If that scholar disobeys Allah, they also know how to make Allah happy. Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهِ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Inna in Arabic, what does inna mean? Anyone? Quick.
Indeed.
Huh?
Indeed.
Indeed. What does innama mean?
Indeed.
No. It's my kafa. Right? So my kafa is hasr. Innama means only. Innama al-a'malu bin-niyat. Innama is there. Only deeds. Right? Innama over there. So what does innama yakhsha Allah mean? Yakhsha means to fear. Allah is the maf'ul, the object. Al-ulama is the doer. Innama yakhsha Allah min ibadihi al-ulama. Allah says, from my servants, the ones who truly fear me are the ulama. That they truly recognize who I am and they have that ma'arifah that they know. It's in the Quran. So if that person sins, they also know like how to make Allah happy. If you see an ignorant person sin, this person sinned without knowing. You sinned while knowing, you're worse. And you don't know what your final state will be. Allah can change them and make that person into a righteous individual and a good person. You don't know how this person is still jahil, but Allah could give them vision and Allah can make them a better individual. So you have no right to judge them. If you see a disbeliever doing something wrong, perhaps they'll become a Muslim and all of their sins will be erased and they'll be forgiven. That includes your trumps, that includes all of those people. You see, one group of people will say, Trump is this, Trump is that, Trump. Another group is doing dua for his hidayah. And only one of these is like the Prophet ﷺ. Let that sink in. How many times do we see a non-Muslim on our socials or TVs or across or at work and make dua that Allah gives them hidayah. Allah put them in your life. If you can't speak to them about the deen, at least you can speak to Allah about their deen. Allah made you guys cross paths for a reason. Your professor, go on Rate My Professor. What's that website? Rate My Professor and do a bad review. Raise two hands, do dua, not against them. Allah destroy them, make them blind. No. Make dua for their hidayah and their iman. Allah could make you astray. The cure. Reflect on Allahu Akbar. I have a few minutes, so I'm going to run through this a little quickly. Allah is the greatest. You say multiple times, feel it. In a day, tell yourself, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. He's big. Say it with dedication. Mean it. See yourself as a small speck and see how big this world is and this galaxy and this universe, and understand that all of this is still a speck in the eyes of Allah. How small you are, you can't even fathom. A great person in reality is the one who is great in the eyes of Allah. That's the only way. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Allah says the best of you are the ones who are the closest to me, who have the most taqwa. Not the ones who are looking for the most halal fatwas. Atqakum, ismi tabdeel. The one who always picks taqwa over fatwa. Always looks and thinks to themselves, Allah's watching me, Allah's watching me. You are the closest one to Allah. If you're close to Allah, it doesn't matter who you're far from. And if you're far from Allah, it doesn't matter who you're close to. Think about those whose fate change, and Allah always asks Allah to protect you. Everything you have is because of Allah. Today you're arrogant because of your beauty. Allah can take that right away like this and get into an accident and your whole face is gone. You have wealth, you can lose it all overnight. In Pakistan, what happened in the floods? People went to sleep giving zakat, woke up asking others for zakat. Earthquakes in Turkey. Allah can flip your state like this. Did the whole world not come to its heels in COVID? Allah shows you how He can even create وَمَا يَعْلَمُ جُنُودَ رَبِّكَ إِلَّا هُوَ, the invisible enemy. Reflect on your defects and faults. Think about your faults. One of the greats, in Gulistan, Sa'di mentions that some guy comes and says that, this sheikh has this fault in him. Someone's talking crap about you. He said, Alhamdulillah. He said, he only spoke about 5 of my defects. I have like 1,000 more. He said, if I had this man judge me on the day of judgment with all that he knows, I'm not worried. Because I've got a lot on my shoulder that no one knows but my Creator. So reflect on those defects. Reflect on being exposed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from being exposed. Have a shaykh murabbi. The famous saying, Lawla murabbi ma araftu rabbi. Had I not have someone who did my tarbiyah, I wouldn't know who my Allah is. What are the qualities? Someone who has experienced and knows the science of purification of the heart. Not everybody who goes through one little course or one book of this actually knows it. Unless you have spent that time under someone who has that mastery and they have that mastery and that. Besides that, the average person, this is not the field for the average person. But now, it's very popular for everybody to talk about purification of the heart and diseases of the heart. Right? Like, this is like the topic that is the most popular and everyone likes to talk about it. Based on what? Based on what experience? They have to be detached from the dunya. They can't desire the dunya. If they have love of the dunya, then they don't have love of the akhirah. They follow the sunnah and the sharia. And you can bear their personality. Sometimes you need a soft shaykh. Sometimes you need a strict shaykh. You know your mizaj and your personality. So you adopt a shaykh that works with your personality. And that's a very, very important thing, is because getting the wrong doctor, even if they present the cure to you, you won't accept it. Reflect on a hadith that say even an atom of pride will deny one from entering paradise. There were 2 companions, Amr bin al-As radiallahu anhu, the one who conquered Egypt, and Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhuma. They were sitting, Safa Marwa, they were sitting at Marwa and they were just chilling and talking. And then Amr gets up and walks away. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anhu was bawling out, crying. Someone stops by and says, why are you crying? And he says, the reason I'm crying is because he told me of this hadith that even a speck of pride will stop me from entering paradise. A speck, how? Which one of us can say we don't have an atom of pride inside us? Know that only Allah alone can have pride, and Allah destroys the ones who have pride. Reflect on where pride keeps in. Amongst your friends, do you think you're better? If that's the case, reflect on that, eradicate that. Amongst your elders, your parents, those, do you feel that they are less than you, or do you feel that that they're insignificant and you don't listen and you rebel? Social media, are you that clout chasing person who likes to post? Reflect on yourself, fix those things. At work, do you think that, oh no, I deserve this position and I deserve to be listened to, and I want, the manager to treat me like this and the boss to treat me like that, and I know better than all of them? I'll tell you one other story and then I'll end off with this. And leave it for a few minutes for Q&A. There was a great scholar, Maulana Qasim Nanotwi rahmatullahi alayhi. And Hazrat Nanotwi rahmatullahi alayhi was one of the greatest philosophers. He wrote a book called Abir Hayat. I doubt any of you guys even know or even going to open this book or read it or look into it. But Abir Hayat is such a difficult book that even the most intelligent scholars can barely go through the first page to 3 pages. One of my teachers who was good in philosophy was like, I wanted to test it out. I could barely read a paragraph of Abir Hayat and comprehend it. So one of the Orientalist philosophers came into the place where he was teaching. Or this was Shaykh al-Hind, I believe, the story. And when the philosopher sat down and he just kept on talking and talking, and the students thought, today our Shaykh is going to floor this guy. You know what he responds? He doesn't say anything. The guy gets up, walks away. Students are like, why didn't you say anything? He was like, it came in my heart that today I'm going to humiliate this man. He said that was the moment I realized I did it for myself. Ali radiallahu anhu gets spit on when he's about to slaughter the guy. Stops. He said, why'd you stop? He said, first I was doing it for Allah, then it changed for me. Maulana Taha Karana rahmatullahi alayhi. I talk about him a lot. I don't know which of you guys remember his names or not. One of his students, Sheikh Riyad Sarwishi, had come, so I sat with him and I said, because he taught in the same institute that Maulana Taha had founded, and Maulana Taha is one of his teachers. So I said, I want to hear stories of Maulana Taha. So he mentioned to me a story and he said, Maulana Taha was one of the greatest minds I've ever seen in my life. I can just give a whole lecture on his brilliance and intelligence. One time he was brought and he knew the scriptures, other people's religious scriptures like the back of his hand. And one time a debate happened. It was one of those publicized one where everybody came out. Everyone knew Maulana Taha Quran is going to eat this man alive. But Maulana Taha Quran didn't take any jabs in the debate. So they asked Mufti Taha after this, Mufti, this was something that you could have easily won the debate. He said, this man had khair in him, and I hope that if I didn't humiliate him, he would be more prone to accepting the truth. If I humiliated him, he would have been shut off. Qari Tayyib rahmatullahi alayhi was a great principal of an institute, and scholars from all over the world used to come and sit by him. And he felt inside himself takabbur, that I'm feeling better than myself. I'm feeling like I'm somebody. So he goes to Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi and he says, Maulana Thanvi was Hakim al-Umma. This man, that's what he did. He was like the spiritual doctor. Everybody, scholars, everyone went through and wrote about 1,000 books. Man was brilliant. He was a genius at this time. I've been to the place in Tanabawan where all of these stories happened. So Hazrat Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi tells Qari Tayyib that, okay, you can spend 1 month in my masjid. And that's what would happen. People would come to Hazrat Thanvi and spend days by him and just get their tarbiyah done and then send them back. So Qari Tayyib, this big shot scholar, imagine the celebrity sheikh, comes in, you're walking into ISRA, Qari Tayyib tells him that your job is to fix the shoes of everybody. Now this is like a century ago, so everything is dirty, muddy. When it rains, when they enter the masjid, it's all messy. So Qari Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi, and people are coming saying, oh my God, Sheikh. And he's like, I'm sorry, my job is to pick your shoes up and put it over there. Qari Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi said that exercise destroyed my nafs so much. After that, I never thought of myself as anything worth it. Anyhow, stories are many. I hope the lessons first and foremost that I learned from it, that Allah brings humility into my heart and removes and eradicates pride at every single level and brings the gentleness and khair and goodness. For just 3-4 minutes, we will take some questions if anyone has.